awaken divine. Something awaken divine. Something awaken divine. Awaken divine. Awaken divine.
Hello, and welcome to the Awakened Winners podcast. My name is Loida Love. I am the creator and host of this podcast. So, I want to talk about peace of mind because I'm a person that suffered for a long time with anxiety, and not just typical anxiety, like panic attacks. And I think that that's not talked about a lot because, people are afraid. Like maybe people are going to think I'm crazy because I have panic attacks or I have anxiety to the point that I don't feel safe in my own body or wherever I am. And I think it's important to have these conversations because so many people go through anxiety, depression, panic. And like I said, I am somebody that had panic attacks. Like I remember there was a time that I even drove myself to the hospital. Like that serious. Like I was not well in my mind. And I felt like my mind had complete control over me, that I wanted somebody to let me know that I'm safe and that my son was safe. I just wasn't safe in myself. At the time I had done a lot of consciousness work, but I kept studying like what brought me here. Like literally when I went to the hospital, they brought me into a room and I'm talking to the doctor and he's like, you are so aware, you know so much, you're going to be fine. But in my mind and in my body, I didn't feel that way, but I heard myself speak like I know what's happening. But in the moment, I just needed somebody to just tell me I'm okay, somebody just to assure me that I was safe. And so I did what I needed to do at the time. But afterwards, I realized how much power I gave to my mind and my thoughts, my negative thoughts. And knowing that I never really had the example of what it looks like to be present with one's feelings or emotions, I grew up with family that had anxiety and depression and often took medication in order to calm, or people that did drugs or drank alcohol to calm, right? To, basically run away from this feeling. And I desire to confront it. I desire to understand it. Like, where does this come from? Why is it happening? Like, I want to study this because I don't want to be powerless in the face of my thoughts or my emotions. I want to feel powerful. And it doesn't mean for me that I would never feel sad or a little scared, but never to the point that I feel helpless and hopeless, like I can't, right? So I devoted myself to meditation, to study presence, right? I read Eckhart Tolle books. I went on retreats. I did so much because I wanted to better understand myself and my own power. Right? I grew up watching people give their power away consistently. I had no true reflection of what it looks like to stand in my own power, to be a force, right? But through meditation, I'm telling you, I've had such empowering experiences that have just awakened me in ways that I couldn't have done unless I decided to be still. And in some of the other podcasts, if you've heard previous ones, you may hear me speak about similar things. One of the things I talked about before was something I wrote in my book, which I'll share real quick because I share it on every podcast. This is my book, and this is my baby, my son, my boo, my love. I love him so much. My book is called The Awaken Winners, and the subtitle is We Already Won. Hence, my podcast is the Awakened Winners podcast. But in my book, I wrote about an experience I had through meditation. There was a man I spoke to, and he told me that when he tells people to meditate, he often tells them to go sit. Because if he tells people to meditate, there's often a preconceived notion of what that's supposed to look like. So people are often in their heads trying to figure out, okay, I'm supposed to meditate. Okay, am I sitting right? Okay, I'm thinking. There's so much in my mind. Where do I put my hands? I don't know where to put my hands. Oh my God, I don't think I'm doing this right. So people are in their head trying to figure out how to meditate, which defeats the purpose of meditation. Right? So this man says, he tells people to simply go sit. So after I finished having a conversation with him, I went and sat at the edge of my bed. And I took a deep breath and I just sat. And moments after, I heard a voice say, "Be still and know that I am God." And then the words that followed were, God is the stillness, and God could only be experienced in the stillness of our minds. Wow. I get the chills. Because for me, that was a very lay it on your lap message. It was very clear. God is the stillness. God is this moment, right? When I'm reaching for medication, alcohol, drugs, a relationship, what have you, I'm not in the stillness. I'm not simply being still. I am searching for God, right? And I had to become aware of that in order to remember my power. But even more so, I had to become aware of where God lives. Because otherwise, I would live my life addicted. And this doesn't mean that I don't get addicted to things, because I'm becoming aware that I'm addicted to sugar. Sometimes, like if I'm vegan and I'll make a cake, and it's like I have to keep getting more, have to keep getting more. Like I can't just have one piece of the cake. I'm like, oh my God. And I'll sit in the living room and it's like the cake is calling me, like, oh, just take one more bite, just take another piece. And I noticed, right? And then I could choose, do I want to continue making cake? Or do I make just enough for me to eat a little and then give the rest away if I make a bigger portion? I have to figure out my stuff. Or do I give up sugar altogether? I'm not sure yet. But the point is that I notice that I get addicted to things still. But the key is that I notice, right? That I notice, and then because I notice, I have a choice. Because some people are addicted and they're not even aware. They're just doing what they normally do. But if you're not aware, then it's like you're just the addict. You're identified with the addict. But when you're aware, you can see the addiction outside of you and you can do something about it. Like, okay, I see myself or the part of me that's addicted. And what can I do? What support can I seek? What can I eliminate? What do I want to eliminate? By the way, none of this is to be taken as medical advice. If you are struggling with addiction or depression or anxiety, seek support. I just want to make sure that nobody thinks that I'm telling them what to do and then taking advice and really they can use some medication, because for me, it's not even that people shouldn't take medication to support them, because I think medication helps. But I think medication is meant to be something we use temporarily. That is not something we have to use for a lifetime, because that just keeps us confined to the medication rather than I use this until I feel better and then I seek support to remember my power. So I had to remember that God lived in my heart, and how I did that was, first of all, I didn't even know. Like I just mentioned that, but I didn't even know. But one day I sat in meditation because, I've been like, meditation is just, it's such a gift. If you don't meditate, I highly recommend meditation. And I often say that, meditation is an underutilized tool, and that meditation is the best medication. I've meditated through panic attacks, and that was hard. But because I did that and was able to stay with myself through my anxiety, I remembered my power. My capacity to be with my fear grew and grew and grew and grew, because our capacity to be with our fear shrinks if we give power to it. So if every time I feel afraid, I go for safety, I'm shrinking. I'm putting myself in a box. I'm putting myself in a box. I'm putting myself in a box every time. And then eventually my work will be, how do I get myself out of this box? How do I get myself out of this one, out of this one, out of this one, out of this one? If I sit with in meditation with my fear, with my anxiety, I'm no longer putting myself in a box. I'm breathing into my body, feeling all the feels. And I'm telling you, it was challenging. I put my alarm on my phone for 30 minutes. And if you are new in meditation, you can put your timer for 5, 10, 15 minutes. But because I was having panic, I wanted to give myself enough time to get through the anxiety. Just listen to all of the negativity, just be with it, feel all the feels and let it move through. And I did. Like literally listening to my mind, my thoughts telling me, you can't just sit here. You got to run. You got to run. And my heart beating fast. So back to what I was saying, as far as connecting and becoming aware that God lives in my heart, I did a meditation. I went on a meditation journey, and I decided I actually was going to do my own open heart surgery through meditation, because I am like somebody that gets a thought and I go with it. So I went to my room and laid on my bed, and I took off my shirt and I closed my eyes. I even put a pillow behind my back so that my chest was elevated. And I closed my eyes and I started to put my fingers toward my chest. And I started to do this, just like if I was opening my chest. So I'm like pulling from the middle outward and pulling from the middle outward. And I was envisioning that I was opening my chest at the time. And I remember with my eyes closed, all of a sudden seeing other hands begin to do my surgery for me. And in the moment, I just knew it was God. And I heard a voice speak, and what I heard was God say, I live in your heart. And I'm crying at this point. Like, my surgery was done, my heart healed outside of my chest. And I asked God, I said, God, whatever you want, I'll do. Like, what do you want from me? Whatever you want, I will do. And God, and I'm just trying to remember. I hope you can tell that I'm trying to remember. This was years ago. And then I remember God said, love me more than anything and everything. And I said, yes. And God, you said that you live in my heart. And God said, precisely, love yourself more than anything and everything. And I knew in that moment that when I love myself, I'm loving God too, because we are not separate. We're not separate, right? So as I love me, I love God. Like, I was always taught to love everybody else. But what if the real mission and vision is to love myself? And as I learn to love me, as I become more aware of me, I learn to love other people. I become more aware of other people, right? I have to start here. And so that's what I've been devoted to. That's what I teach my clients. I am a coach. I'm a self-love coach. I help my clients remember where love lives. I help them detangle from their past, their future, their negative thoughts, all of it, so they can be present and then choose where to go, rather than there's so many things jumbled in one's head, and we can't even see clearly. How can we steer our vehicle if we can't even see clearly, right? This is what's having a peace of mind is, that we can have peace of mind by being present in our own body, that we can learn how to be the driver in our lives from inner peace, from awareness. I'm holding you with love. If you are struggling emotionally, seek the support you need. If you are interested in coaching with me, feel free to send me a message. You can reach me at my email, empowerlovecoach@gmail.com. And that's empower as in inside, INPOWER, lovecoach@gmail.com. And I can send you my calendar and all the information you need to know. Or seek support from your doctor. Just know that you're not alone, that there's support out there. And that's all from me. Is it all from me? I think one more thing that I want to share. I often ask the people I'm having conversations with, what if there's one thing that you want to share for your audience, what would it be? And actually, what I want to do is actually open my book and read something for you. And I'll trust that this is the right message. So I'm going to rub on the cover of my book, and ask for whatever wisdom my listeners could use. And then I'm going to open up to a page. Oh my gosh. I couldn't make this up if I wanted to. Literally, I could not make this up. I'm really mind blown. What I opened up to is called Who's Driving? Like, I'm just mind blown. Who's driving? As I observed the many things I'd attached to, there was one that really stuck out for me. It was based on how I entertained my thoughts. Oh my God. And attached to them as truth. I had this realization as I drove my car. I was driving and I noticed what I would do that would induce much anxiety for me. I will explain it to you by having you imagine you are driving a car. As you drive, you have both hands on the steering wheel. You are driving along and you suddenly get a thought you prefer not to have. So you pick up the thought by removing one hand from the steering wheel. Now you are driving with one hand on the steering wheel while the other hand is holding a thought. Then, as you reject that fear based thought, your body goes into protection mode because your mind doesn't know the difference between true danger and a thought of something dangerous. Because you are not aware of this, your reaction to your body symptoms would be to ask, "What's wrong with me?" In that moment, when you ask that question, you pick up a feeling. Now, both of your hands are off the steering wheel. You look at the steering wheel and ask, "Who's driving?" The answer to that question is the web, which in this case is your car, and it's driving with no one directing it because you are holding two delusions and you are identified with those delusions as if they are you. Oh my God. And if you want to know more about my book, you can definitely order my book on my website, www.theawakenedwinners.com. You can find my book and purchase it. But I love how perfect this message is, right? Because it is solely about what I was talking about when it comes to us being the driver in our lives and giving our power. Like legit, I was driving one day and I'm such a like I am so observant of everything now, um that if I'm going through something, I always get curious. When I'm struggling through things, I'm like even through my anxiety, through whatever I'm going through, I get curious. And I remember I was driving and I had this awareness of like grabbing a thought. Like I had a negative thought. And so if I'm driving and I have a negative thought and I put my hand and I'm gonna start holding the thought, right? Because that's what we do. We start touching the thought, right? Whether we're rejecting the thought or entertaining the thought, we're touching the thought. Our hand is not on the steering wheel anymore. It's on the thought. So then I'm driving with one hand and all of a sudden the rejection of the thoughts, right, are inducing these feelings, right, in my body. Anxiety, panic. Oh my God. So then I don't want to feel these feelings. So I reject those feelings. And when I start rejecting those feelings, I put my hand on the feelings, right? So one hand's on my thoughts and one hand's on my feelings. I've let go of my steering wheel. The car, my vehicle, I'm not driving my vehicle anymore, right? Who is steering? I had to see what I was doing, as in giving my power away, coming back to myself, breathing into my body. I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. I am whole. I am complete. I am loved and loved. I had to learn these things. Otherwise, I could not function in the world. I still get anxiety sometimes. but I have practices that I do. And with those practices, I remember who I am. I remember my power. I create my own peace of mind. I hope that listening to this podcast has given you peace of mind in some way, that you're leaving with more awareness and are feeling more empowered. As I said, feel free to reach out to me or continue to watch these podcasts because I intend to give more wisdom and love from my open heart, my open, full heart. My love to all of you. Until next time.